Do you feel like despite all your growth, all the effort you've made in your life, something is still missing? You still have that blockage. Perhaps you don't need more answers. What you actually need is to ask better questions. So these 5 questions will help you in your self-development and your awakening process. Hi, welcome to this channel. My name is Mateo, and I help overachievers in search of meaning, spearheads, pioneers, people who are in the search to discover how to live their most authentic life, filled with beauty, filled with adventure. Connect deep within. People who are ready to help humanity evolve forward. I do this through online courses and retreats around the world, be it individual and group. So if you like this and you'd like to support the channel and you feel you're a spearhead in the process of helping humanity move forward, I invite you to follow me and click that button and subscribe so that you can be aware of all the future videos I'll make. So have you ever felt that you have been stagnant in your own growth? You've done the work, you've done the retreats, you've done the yoga, you've done the meditation, you've read the self-help books. You're in this constant learning process, but you're still blocked. Well, if this is you, I have 5 questions that may help you in your progress towards your own growth and development. I've used these questions with dozens of clients, and they have also helped me in my own process. So question number 1, am I growing or am I just running away from something? Am I growing or am I just running away from something? Think of all the things that you may have done where you were in a particular situation, you changed, but only on the surface. And then you felt you were in the same loop over and over again. For example, think about the time when you left a relationship and you got into this new relationship, but it seemed like the person was almost exactly the same as the first one. At the beginning it might seem different, but then after a while you realize you're repeating the exact same patterns. Be it because that person is the same and or because you haven't changed and you are repeating the same attachment patterns, you're repeating the same fears, you're projecting the same image onto the other person. This might also happen, for example, work-wise. You might leave a job because you got tired or because you found it uncomfortable, but you realize you're stuck in the same idea, you're stuck in the same work, you're stuck in the same loop. Or you've been thinking about doing something, but you have not been able to do it and you're just stuck in that loop forever. Be it create that new company or leave your job or leave a relationship or start a relationship, whatever it is, and take that trip somewhere else. And we sometimes confuse movement with progress, but you might be using that movement to hide a deeper sense of growth, which is scary. We change jobs, relationships, and so on and so forth, but sometimes what we actually need is to look at what we're running from. Growth is what happens when you leave your comfort zone, is that thing that happens at the edge of your comfort zone. So you might still be doing the yoga and the meditation, and you might be repeating the same affirmations and mantras and having great conversations, but still you have not applied, you have not taken the actual steps. You know, a retreat, for example, is a great place, but if you're not using it well, it might seem very comfortable. I know many people who've done plant medicine dozens, hundreds of times, and the plant medicine becomes their comfort zone, but they have not applied it in their own life. Same with all these self-development and spiritual development ideas running out there and techniques. It's really when you integrate them by leaving your comfort zone that you might start experiencing that growth. But sometimes what we're doing is we're running away from that, which requires looking at ourselves, going to that uncomfortable place, and actually making the jumps, the leaps, the change. So are you moving towards something better, or are you just escaping whatever you're not willing to face with what already feels comfortable. Question number 2. What would you do if fear was not a factor? If you did not have fear? So many times we're stuck because we have fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of success. And we expect things to be perfect, and we expect to eventually have that perfect timing in order to do things. But fear, in a way, is the compass that is pointing towards what we want. And we have to go through fear and not wait for fear to go before we take those actions. The people who have the results that you want have those results because they have taken the steps through fear. And now they might not be afraid anymore of those things because they got used to it, through it. They didn't wait for it to be perfect. If you have stage fright and you have a fear of taking that leap of faith, you will never overcome that fear until you step on that stage. If you have fear of leaving your job and starting your own business, that fear will never go away until you actually do it, get used to the fear, and then you realize that fear is either no longer there or is just not enough to block you. This happens all the time. My YouTube channel is new and I know that I'm not an expert in this. So I am afraid of posting this video, and I don't know how it's gonna be. It might have very few views. My last video had like 3 views. So who knows? But still, overcoming that fear may be the only way of actually reaching that potential, of getting to that point where you don't have that fear of failure, rejection, or success anymore. I remember when I launched my first retreats, and actually every single time I launch a new retreat, which is, I don't know, more days or grander or in a different country, I have fear that I might not be enough to hold that space, fear that people won't want to come and I won't be able to call enough people to fill the spots, fear of anything that might happen. But if I don't put myself through that experience, I may never actually overcome that fear. So the question is, if you did not have fear, what would you do? Because then you might realize, this is what I actually want. What fear is actually trying to show me? And if I did not have that fear, what would I do? Now, this is purely hypothetical because fear will never go away. You will never be ready. You have to act even with fear. But the thing is, if you don't observe it properly in your own life right now, you may still be repeating those same loops over and over again. Question number 3. Am I chasing a purpose or allowing myself to live it? Now, we tend to think that the purpose is something which is far away. A faraway destination we'll someday reach. But even science is now asking the question if the past and the future actually exist. When we're thinking about the past, when we're going to the past, that action of thinking in the past is happening right now. When we're thinking about the future, that action of the future is happening in the present moment. So we might not even know if the future exists. However, we're somehow expecting that the purpose will be something in the future. But purpose isn't something you search for. It's something you live. It's something you embody, something you build step by step. You don't become that person by waiting for that purpose to come. You become that person by, in this precise instant, embodying that version of yourself. How does the best version of yourself, that purpose, how does that inspired, joyful, glad, empowered being that you know you have inside behave right now? How do you sit? How do you breathe? How do you think? How do you handle your emotions? When you're in a meeting, how do you behave yourself? When you're with your family, how do you behave yourself? When you're by yourself, how do you behave yourself? That is the way you actually bring purpose to the present moment and actually take action on it. That's the way in which purpose becomes real. It's not something you eventually will have. It's bringing that future idea to the present moment and being like, how can I embody this right now? How can I embody my grandeur? How can I embody my magnificence? How can I embody my compassion? How can I embody my love? How can I embody my trust? How can I embody my bliss right now? I realized that every time I guided someone in my journey, for example, when I was in retreats or with clients in my one-on-ones, there were many times where I felt I was not ready to handle that situation, be it because they came with stories that I've not lived personally, be it because they're overachievers that have achieved way more than I have, or because I'm just starting something new. However, if I don't put myself in that situation, if I hadn't worked with the CEO, if I hadn't worked with the successful athlete, if I hadn't worked with people I admired, if I hadn't said, Christ, I don't know how to do this, but I'm gonna step into that place and I'm gonna take the leap of faith, I would have never overcome those blockages, and I would not have become the person I am now today, and still the person I will eventually become. The only way I can do that is by stepping into this moment. This YouTube channel is new. If I ever want to have a proper YouTube channel that reaches hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people perhaps, and actually influences in the way I want to influence, I have to start with these videos. I have to start somewhere. So if you're not living your intention today, purpose won't magically appear. You have to embody it here. That idea in the future, which might not even be real, exists to be brought by your heart, by your intention, by your energy to this present moment so that you can embody that. Question number 4. Am I surrounded by people who reflect my truth and my greatness? Now this is a tough one to swallow because we're a pack animal, and we create loyalties to our family, we create loyalties to our friends and the people who've been there for us. However, your environment is a mirror of who you are and who you're choosing to be. There's a Tony Robbins quote or idea that says proximity is power. If you want power, you have to be in close proximity to that power which you want. If you want to be a good athlete, if you want to be an athlete, the best thing you can do is surround yourself with people who have that athletic lifestyle. If you want to be a creative person and a musician, the best thing you can do is surround yourself with people who are like that. Now, do the people around you lift you towards your greatness or hold you back? It's like, imagine like an eagle that is born surrounded by chicks and chickens. The eagle might never see himself for what it truly is and might never try to fly because he's never seen it in his surroundings. You might be the same. You might be an eagle. You might be someone with a huge amount of gifts and talents that you have not been able to give to the world or share fully because your environment is not an environment that supports your growth. Now, letting go of those friendships may be the best thing you can do. Taking a step back, taking distance. I'll tell you my own story. For about 6 or 7 years, since when I was like 21 till I was like 27, I had to take a big step back from my best friends, who are almost my brothers, since we were 4 years old. All through school, I went through a private school, so since we're 4 till we're 18, we were super close. And then actually, we were still close. But I took a step back. I took a step back from my family. Nobody in my environment was either into spiritual and self-development. No one was into entrepreneurship. No one wanted the life I wanted. That doesn't mean that they are bad people. They're super successful and they're great and I still love them. And now we have an amazing relationship. But that time in which I took a distance to really work on myself, to really understand what I actually wanted and start building the foundation for that, was an amazing time for me to develop who I am now. And now, actually, I can hang out with them and not feel drained whenever they speak about things that I don't I don't agree with, or the lifestyle that I don't want. And actually, some of them have now reached out to me because they find interesting what I do. Now, if it's a really toxic relationship, if it's people who only go out to party and gossip and everything is negative around them, perhaps the best thing you can do, which I did with some people, is cut them completely from your life. Perhaps another time, perhaps in 10 years, or perhaps in the next life. Be grateful to what they were for you at the time, what they meant, what they represent, what you learned. But it's also important to be able to cut those relationships that are really toxic for you, and take a distance from those relationships that may be beautiful, but that are not supporting your growth. And if your environment is not supporting your greatness, it might be time to leave. And question number 5, if I didn't compare myself to anyone, what would I truly want? Now, your life and my life has so many different variables that comparing to other people and actually believing that we understand what their life is like is a cognitive fallacy. It's an error in our perception. We have no idea what the other person is going through. And even if they do have the results, say they have the beautiful partner, say they have the money, the freedom, the lifestyle that you want, you may not know what they have to go through. I'll never forget how once, after a Vipassana retreat, a person, she was very interested in my lifestyle as a nomad and the freedom and the work I do. And she was like, wow, I truly deeply want this. And I remember we had some time, so we spoke about the actual challenges of being a nomad, the loneliness, the financial struggles of being a nomad, traveling, and being an entrepreneur in this industry at the same time, the struggles of working with people. And she realized it wasn't something she actually wanted. It was just something that looked nice from far ahead. This is something that may be happening to you. I'm not saying you don't want that beautiful relationship. I'm not saying you want those millions of dollars or that great freedom, job, and lifestyle. But what I am saying is you never know what the person that you actually are comparing with has been through. So it doesn't make sense to compare yourself. So ask yourself, what would you do if no one was watching? What would you actually want? Removing yourself from your family pressure, from your friends' pressure, from your social media feed pressure, and ask, if I'm only chasing the goals that are looking good to others, but I don't resonate with it in my heart, what do I truly want? And the beautiful thing is that you might realize that the answer is way closer than what you think. If you're a mango tree that is trying to become an orange tree, you might feel it's super far away. But if you actually take a look at who you are and what your true essence is, you may realize that producing mangoes is your nature, and that's what you're here to do. In the same way, if you take a look within and you take the time to know yourself properly, as in the Oracle of Delphi that says, like, know yourself, know thyself. As that's the main thing we have to do as human beings. If you know thyself and you realize, like, I am a mango tree and not an orange tree as all those people I compare myself with, you may realize that mangoes is your nature. And you may realize that it's not so far ahead. It's not so far away. That perhaps you compare yourself because you don't have the millions, but that the feeling of abundance is way closer, which is what you truly want. You may not have the beautiful partner, but you may want the love that you have for yourself, and you find it, and then you feel full and fulfilled, and you realize that you didn't need a partner, or you didn't need to have that lifestyle, you didn't need to become an entrepreneur in this sense to actually feel that you're great, and to actually embrace your power, and to actually embrace your talents and your gifts, and be of better service to humanity and the world. Whenever I stop chasing those dreams that look good and instead live the life I want to live, my life is so much more beautiful. And I realize, as in the Rumi poem, that those things that I'm looking for in my own essence, in my heart, are also looking for me, are calling me, are attracting me as well. We're a match. Life is not as hard as it has to be. We are the ones that make it more complicated. We are the ones who suffer way more. True clarity comes when we let go of comparison. So here are the 5 questions again. Number 1, am I growing or just running away from something? Number 2, what would I do if fear wasn't a factor? Number 3, am I chasing my purpose or allowing myself to live it? Number 4, am I surrounded by people who reflect my truth and my greatness? And number 5, if I didn't compare myself with anybody, what would I truly want? If you found these questions and these reflections powerful, I invite you to subscribe and follow me. Click on the notification bell so you can be aware of more videos to come. And I'd love for you to comment which one of these 5 was the one that was most intriguing, that really touched something deep within, and why. I'd love to read you, and I'll see you in the next video.